Evening campers, it is Kira and we are going to discuss Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. Disgrace won the 1999 Man Booker 16 years after Coetzee won it for The Life and Times of Michael K. In The Life and Times of Michael K, I was swooned by Coetzee's ability to provide many questions to the reader but give absolutely no definitive answer. The book itself was hazy. Now, I use hazy and I'm aware that that can come across as ambiguous, but it's not the case. I think Coetzee's able to lure a reader down one way of thinking and through nuance and that undercurrent of unknown is able to shake you from that course in a very particular way. And whilst you're on that course of trying to figure out what's going on, you've stumbled into a page turner of a book that you want to learn more about. And coming back to Disgrace definitely rings true. So I don't think it's a trope of The Life and Times of Michael K. I think it's generally what Coetzee's able to do. I studied this book for 5 years ago when I was doing my undergraduate in English literature in Cardiff, and I was hooked by it. It was definitely one of those books that was the pinnacle of my degree. Not in the fact that because it does pose very difficult questions, which we're going to talk about, but the fact that something so rich and dense and packed is done in a way that feels really simplistic and minimal. And that simplicity isn't because it's simple, it just showcases how good Coetzee is at writing a book. And similar to Life and Times of Michael K, it's very thin. It's, what's my copy? It's 220 pages long. I think it's around 60,000 words. And thinking back on both books, and these are the only 2 books I've read by Coetzee, and I need to read more, and trust me, I will be reading more, and they're going to arrive anytime soon. I'm very, very excited over that. Masterful springs to mind. It achieves more than the sum of its parts. I'm aware that by talking about this book, I'm just not going to do it justice, but let's just try. We're in this together. Let's look into each other's eyes. I'm not even going to give a summary because it just doesn't do it justice at all. Our story kicks off with David Lurie, a lecturer in Cape Town who specialises in Lord Byron. And if you know anything about Byron, none of this is going to seem new. He ends up having a relationship with one of the students who's around 20 years old. So meeting up with her, having a few drinks and whatnot, it arises in the university that he has raped this student. Now, all the story is told from David's viewpoint, and it's not clear that he has or that he hasn't. But the university tried to make amends by offering him I suppose like a plea deal. So look, if you admit to it, we'll see what we can do. And Lurie is just staunch and saying no. In that scene itself where Lurie wants to kind of accept the accusation that's been made of him, the university itself are kind of scratching their heads thinking, well, why does he want to burn all bridges? It would be a easier road to recovery if he just accepts it and then we can try to cover it up, it seems. But no, David Lurie is very much on the stage going, take me as you will. While his career and his life has been stripped from him, he decides to go and visit in a small rural town in South Africa his daughter. It doesn't go well after this. I wanted to be made aware that with Coetzee being South African, he very much understands the apartheid. I don't know the apartheid that well. I would say the only exposure I have had to apartheid is through Coetzee's work in a literature point of view. So I'm not clued up. In a summary, in case you have no idea, the white South Africans used to have a lot of the power. There was a huge segregation between whites and blacks. It seems it's kind of okay at the moment, but there's a lot of tension bubbling underneath in South Africa. So even though the whites and blacks are now on a equal playing field, there's tension. There's tension throughout. So I just want to put that disclaimer there because I don't know much, but I'm just going to base it on that and hopefully you'll understand as I explain. So David goes to visit his daughter. Now, remember, white old man in academia can do what he wants, pretty much it seems. Very much a privileged person here. He's now going to the rural part to visit his lesbian daughter who lives on her own in a predominantly black community who don't like white people. Can we say where the difficulties might arise in this novel? So David's really trying to build a relationship with Lucy, but she's very distant, and that distance seems to have been created by the distance of them living apart, him in Cape Town, her in rural South Africa. So they're trying to get close, and they nearly get there, and then a really horrific scene happens. In the middle of the night, some black men break into Lucy's house. They lock David in a bathroom and set him on fire with alcohol. And whilst David's burning, he can hear that Lucy is being raped by the men. And this is about halfway through, and it doesn't get better. David ends up going to hospital, but his wounds aren't that severe. What is severe, though, is the turmoil that this rape has actually had on Lucy. And when questioned about it and pleaded with David to report it to the authorities to get justice, she becomes despondent, to a point where there's a bit of the novel, I can't remember when, but it seems as though the rape never actually happened. I very much doubted that was Lucy not doing anything because it never happened and it would be a lie of some case. These questions of rape ring throughout the novel. So with David's relationship with the student and the encounter with Lucy, and the fact that she's nearly apathetic towards it. She doesn't really have an opinion one way or the other. It just seems to be very matter of fact, and this is the way it is. Knowing he's going to get absolutely nowhere with his daughter, he gets a job picking up dead dogs and incinerating them, which isn't cheery. Nothing's cheery. Nothing cheery is in this book. All the dreams and realizations that these characters have just do not go to plan. Even David's want to create a chamber opera about Byron's life, when he actually sits down to write it, it's a very farcical scene where he's sat down at this toy piano plucking away at the chords, trying to make something beautiful. I suppose the main ones it's questioning is that how can things go back to the way they were? Be that through David teaching again, be that Lucy being close with her dad, be it the racial divide in South Africa, to being something cohesive rather than separate, be that David's relationship with the black community, because it's very despondent. There's a bit where there's a black boy, his name's Pollux, and there's a bit in the, I need to find it. It's these two words here that he thinks the child's name is, but it's actually just Pollux. But it just shows the racist tendencies that are completely rife in South Africa, and it's done in such a nuanced way. And Coetzee's work, from the two that I've read, just utterly rely on nuance and just giving you nothing. They give you nothing to go off. Even when you think you have the answers, he's expert at chipping away at your definitive answers to make them less or more than what they were. I think to read Coetzee is to go on an experience. There's no escapism with this book. It has the qualities of a page turner, and it's an absolute whirlwind once you get completely stuck in. He's just so good. He's purely a master of the language, because even the graphic scenes are not brutally graphic. You're not looking at like a Palahniuk. It's not graphic in that sense. It's not like Edward Lee. It's not graphic in that sense. It's all nuance, and even the bit where Louis being burnt, it doesn't go into that much detail. You very much have a short paragraph and you're quickly moved on, and it all seems reminiscent of what I said about the life at times of Michael K. I clearly have a affinity to this type of prose and this type of structure. They will just become classics, these books. They just will. And I know he's won multiple prizes and he has the Nobel Prize of Literature, which very much help in that case. But you wouldn't be winning those unless you're doing something unfathomable. And he is. He just is. Such a good book. Like, it's a 9 out of 10. It doesn't top The Life and Times of Michael K. There's a few nuances in this that dragged for me, but bar that, it's a solid piece of literature, to the point I am going to say that I will happily give this away. So if you want to read it, please just message me. I will I'll like do a lottery or something, but I want to give this away. We'll leave it there. Tally ho.